Hello, this is From Caracas and I'm Bray Gomez. We are at the Venezuelan National Library. And on the educational mission Sucre, I will talk today with Siveria Castro, a coordinator of the social mission created within the Bolivarian Revolution. Please join us for the next few minutes.
How do you do, Siveria?
Good, thank you for the invitation. And well, we hope to cover all the concerns you have around the university education system.
Of course, we will start there in the beginning of the Sucre mission in Venezuela. How does the social mission arise?
Well, it was on the initiative of our president, Hugo Rafael Chavez Frias. He saw or had that vision as everything he did in order to verify that there were people excluded from the educational system that in one way or another could not enter the university system, and they had these expectations, the desire to study, to prepare, to bring a bit of sand to our territory.
Let's say that higher education until that moment was something elitist in Venezuela.
It was for a few. It wasn't for everyone, and the students were leaving from high school and spent a lot of time to enter the university system.
And then what was Commander Hugo Chavez's idea?
He said university education, as well as the rest of the educational system, can't be permitted for some and banned for others. It has to be inclusive. It has to include everyone. And from that moment, it arises what is known as the Sucre mission. We started working at the Bolivarian University of Venezuela, but that university became very small because at the right moment that the educational system was going to open for all people, there was a demand so huge that it had to go to the territorial part, towards the municipalities, toward the parishes. Then also the president said the university system must be where people live so that people don't have to move so far away.
Taking into consideration, for example, the case of Caracas, where the distances are so long from one point to another.
Yes. The territorial part was very important. Then, in each parish of the municipality of the capital district, in this case, a university village was created.
What is a university village?
University villages are these spaces that during the day are schools, high schools, and during the night are university villages. We have several shifts: on night shift from Monday to Friday, and on weekends, Saturdays and Sundays, in schools.
They are like nocturnal universities.
Yes, nocturnal.
Already, and they are, as I said earlier, located in the communities where people reside.
Those interested
who are interested in studying these studies, for example, in the case of Caracas.
For example, in La Vega Parish, we have 2 university villages where all the people of La Vega Parish go down, but not only the people of La Vega, we also have people from El Paraíso, people from Antímano, from surrounding areas like Montalban, who go to these university villages with the purpose of training and obtaining a professionalization.
All these are, let's say, residential areas in the Venezuelan capital so that the audience beyond the borders of this country can understand better. Now, how does that village work? Once the person arrives and says, I'm interested in enrolling in the study of modalities that you have, how do you proceed?
Well, they enroll in a page that opens twice a year. They are asked a number of requirements. Go to the university village where they are enrolled, because each university village has different training programs. Training programs are those careers that are given in each of the university villages.
Let's say the pensum.
The pensum. There are university villages that have, for example, as in the case of ours, we have administration, informatics, civil construction, environmental management, physical activity, and health and education.
All of them with university profile.
All with the university profile. There are some that reach the technician's degree, and once they finish the technician's degree, they are promoted to the universities that support the programs. Because the Sucre mission is endorsed by other universities that support these programs. What does that mean? That they issue these titles, certify the education given to these students within the university villages, and continue engineering or licenses or other studies at the universities where they work, the universities that support these programs.
Those universities, I suppose, offer a possibility to these graduates to continue postgraduate studies.
Exactly. At this time, the Bolivarian University of Venezuela is enrolling in diplomas, specializations, master doctorates. I mean, there is an incredible amount of study opportunities at this time.
Now, going back to the Sucre mission story, you were telling me that this comes up as an idea of Commander Hugo Chavez. How was that idea received at the outset? How did the Bolivarian Revolution, let's say, recruit not only students but also teachers?
Imagine the impact that caused in the communities was amazing. Well, the very first week that the president gave all these statements, having said that the process of registration was open, that was something epic. A huge amount of students wanted to enter. Then the space they had, say, as first test, overstepped the demand. So that's when we went to school. Why? Because the president said, this has to be local, it has to be municipal schools, it has to be in all communities. And it was when we went to the schools and we started working in the schools. And there they created what we call and what they are today the university villages. College villages equal to a college with all the staff willing to work among them, professionals with an incredible ethic responsible for each of the curricular units that are given.
How is the teaching system structured in the university village? For instance, who works in the university village?
Well, all the professionals who want to enter the university system, they can do it. They make an interview, you see the profile of each professional, and there is an evaluation. For example, a computer engineer, of course, is going to teach computing. An engineer in civil construction will teach civil construction. A bachelor in administration, an environmental manager, that depends on the profile of each one of them. Of the professor.
Aside from the teaching faculty, who else is integrated to the group of workers of the university village?
We have an operational staff that is accompanying us. We have a watchman who is careful with everything that happens in the university village. We are a very complete group in the university villages.
And what about the materials? Let's speak of the academic materials, books, notebooks, as well as the own facilities of the study, the utensils, the computers. Who provides you with these materials?
Well, that's provided by the Sucre Mission Foundation.
Is it a government foundation?
Yes, it is attached to the Ministry of the Popular Power for University Education. Then the foundation provides us with all these inputs so that we can function within these villages. We have spaces within the villages provided by the daily school. It gives us some spaces for us to work, and the classrooms that are used in the day are the same as the night shift.
How is this relationship established between daily school and night school?
Well, we have good relations. In our case, we have good relations with the directors of the day shift, and well, they collaborate a lot with us in the sense that they give us that support, that helps that we require so that people can be there in an appropriate way and they can comply with all that academic passing demands.
I wonder that when Commander Chavez said that it was necessary for the university villages, for example, this extension of the Sucre mission, to be in the parishes and in places where students reside, he did it thinking about the contribution to the community the students could give their social context.
Of course, in one of the curricular units that the students work from start to finish in their training program is called Community Project. This community project is done in the communities, in the communal councils, and the communes. Each one of the students of the training program goes to these communities and make a diagnosis of the needs that each community has and make the necessary contribution that these communities, once they conclude, leave the contribution to the community so that they can continue. For example, the management students go to the communities and verify that in the communal councils they take a proper registration of the books, that they are consistent, that they are not expired, that the accounting part adjusts to everything that is in the law, all that stuff. Computing students alike teach them to work with teams. Often communities do not fully know the computer system. They give them courses on how to get started on computers, how to enter listings, how to have taught or in order, and that they, once they do all those courses, then put everything in their community up to date.
So this is a contribution to the community since they are studying. They are already given certain contributions to the community that surrounds them.
Yes, to the communities, just that the communities protect the work and do not have weakness, but rather strength.
And how has that been received by the community? What does the parish say about the contribution that the university village gives?
Communities are always open to help. When the students of the Sucre mission arrive to apply for community work, they never say no, they say yes, because apart from the program, the programmatic content that you leave there, it also leaves other types of workshops. There they teach courses of leadership, courses of the same laws, of the law of the communal councils, of social controller, a number of laws that they sometimes do not know, and that the institution leaves those contributions there. Communities are called to participate in educational processes because they also go to the university villages and see the work that is done, the development of that work. The communities also have to participate in that work, and it is, let's say, an exchange.
Exactly, a feedback. Now, over the years, you tell me that the mission is 14 years old. Of those 14, you have been 13 years there. Throughout this decade of the Sucre mission, what obstacles have you faced?
Teníamos muchísimos inconvenientes en la escuela donde estábamos porque habían directores que no estaban de acuerdo con.
Well, in principle, we had many drawbacks in schools where we were because there were directors who did not agree with the educational process. But we were meeting, we were making them aware of it, we were telling the importance of the educational system, and well, through these discussions of those meetings that were held, we had much support from the directive campus.
Regardless, for no one is a secret that in Venezuela converge sectors that follow the Bolivarian Revolution and sectors that oppose the Bolivarian Revolution. What has been the response of the Venezuelan opposition to this social mission?
Nosotros, como ya bien te he dicho desde hace rato, la educación en la misión Sucre es incluyente. Quiere indicar que ahí yo no puedo dejar.
Well, as I have already said for a while, education in the Sucre mission is inclusive. That implies that I cannot fail to enroll a student there because he tells me he belongs to the opposition. But what we do when those students come to the villages, because we raise awareness, tell them that the importance for the educational system and for our country, that they incorporate it into the educational process and leave their grain of sand within the educational process, and they understand it. At the end, they understand why. Because once they enter the educational system, we have curricular units like socio-critical formation and socio-political formation. We give workshops. We have some shares of formation where we give workshops of history as part of the programmatic content. We give workshops on history, geography, some things that remain in the history hidden, and that we, through our teachers, through plays, through cultural part, we also have composed groups within the communities. On the cultural side, we are making known to these communities. Then the people inside a university village who have different ways of thinking end up convinced that this educational process is something serious, something formal, an educational process that the only requirement is to have the desire to study and professionalize, and that is the ultimate goal, to achieve a good living without our communities and same people who are part of the Sucre mission.
You mean the humanistic formation as part of the interior formation of the personality?
Como te decía, aparte de los contenidos, damos otros contenidos. Todo el tiempo estamos en constante perfeccionamiento, estamos en constante.
Yes, as I was saying, apart from the contents, we're developing other contents. All the time, we're in constant perfection. We are in constant professionalization of each one of them. We don't only stay with people in the classroom, we go further, advancing and giving workshops that help them even in their professional training. The fact of giving them leadership workshops on how to learn, how to do all these kinds of things that are intertwining.
As part of the history of the Sucre mission, I imagine that there are also other missions that were created from the very beginning, from the very triumph of the Bolivarian Revolution. As for example, the mission I Can Do It, I Can Follow, the Rivas mission. They become practically the Robinson mission too. They become the quarry of which then they will continue towards the mission Sucre.
Of course, because the Robinson mission, then we capture the students of Robinson for Rivas, and the mission Rivas for the mission Sucre. What do we do to capture the students of Rivas to understand that the educational process that we have is a truly meaningful educational process for our country? We will give training workshops to the students of the Rivas mission.
The Rivas mission arrives to the high school. And what about the Robinson mission? Primary education. And the mission, known as I Can Do It and I Can Follow, was to literate Venezuelans.
Literate, yes, and of course the Sucre mission at the university level. First, technical college graduates in STEM training programs, and others come to graduates in different areas or engineers in different areas.
Now you told me that you were not satisfied, that they had to go on, keep moving, continue expanding, and expansion plans. What ideas do you have in the future?
Seguir abriendo más programas de formación que tengan que ver justamente con.
We plan to continue to open more training programs that have to do precisely with the processes that we are currently experiencing, especially in the agricultural part, and the fishing part, and the production part.
Production in factories, for instance.
No, y también tenemos un programa de formación que se llama agroalimentación.
Yes, and we have training program called agricultural program. In this program, students are taught to sow, to work with the land, what is the healthiest part to produce certain products very similar to agricultural engineers.
We could then think that from the Sucre mission, Venezuelans are trying to give a solution to the problem that is living in this country nowadays, which is the so-called economic war.
The economic war, the food part, we are forming professionals in these areas so that they are the ones who give positive answers to the problems that we have faced.
On the other hand, it is not a secret to the international audience that Venezuela has suffered moments of maximum tension through the violent street protests called rioting, the so-called guarimbas. How did the Sucre mission survive the rioting?
When they started the rioting, that was terrible because
there were guarimbas, for example, in 2013, also in 2014, and the most recent in 2017.
Well, those rioting caused us some problems, but we corrected it because the students, and their eagerness of learning, and their eagerness of graduating, and their eagerness to leave those darkness where many people wanted to keep them, they didn't care to walk. They went to their university as if nothing had happened.
There is to say that the lectures were not interrupted.
No, never. The classes are never interrupted in the Sucre mission for no reason. It has to be something very, very strong that makes no one come. But otherwise, you always see students at university villages. They have their schedules and complete all their activities. If there is one day that for any reason you cannot teach that class because the teacher comes on Saturdays, you come on Sundays and give it.
The lesson is restored.
Exactly.
Now I wonder that these university villages don't function in isolation, but there could also be a relationship between villages. There is, between students and teachers from one village and another. How do they do?
Yes, they make exchanges. Exchanges of knowledge are made once or twice a year. There are made bazaars where they give to know socio-productive projects that are in the village with which they are being worked, and they are made invitations to the rest of the villages of the environment. They make invitations to the authorities of the Sucre mission to go and verify the scopes that have been taken in terms of educational processes.
Over the years, you have had a lot of experience working in villages in Caracas, the capital of Venezuela. But how has this work been in the States beyond the capital? What information have you received about that? What level of reception that has had the Sucre mission in the rest of the Venezuelan states?
Well, in the rest of the Venezuelan states, we have had a few difficulties, but they have been corrected.
What kind of difficulties, for instance?
For example, that there are villages that are a little bit far from the students. There are villages that do not have all the inputs, but as I say, we who are working in the Sucre mission work because we have ethics, because we like the work. We don't work only to get paid, but we work to leave that grain of sand there, sown because there are people who really come out of those darkness, that there is a real professional within each of the areas, and we see it every day in different jobs. We see now how there are judges working with the Supreme Court of Justice and are graduates from the Sucre mission. We see engineers in PDVSA, they're graduated from the Sucre mission. We see graduates in different institutions of the state from the Sucre mission, and with very good recommendations because they are dedicated people, because they are people who really have knowledge. That is a point in our favor. The educational system of the Sucre mission is high. It's an educational system of high quality, and that day by day, we try to improve.
If I asked you how do you see the model of the professional graduate of the Sucre mission, what characteristics would you mention this model of graduate has?
I'd say it's ethical, responsible, goes further. We try to instill that to the students. Do not say with what you learn here, keep on getting professionalized. Read a lot. Reading helps you get ready more. Do not stay with what people tell you. Research, be a researcher. That is one of the main parts of the Sucre mission. Students are taught that important element that is to be a researcher. Don't stay with what the teacher tells you in the classroom. Research, research, research. The only way to get out of these darkness is precisely reading, researching, studying, and preparing.
As the Cuban hero Jose Marti would say, being cultivated is the only way to be free. Thank you very much, Siveria, for this interview for Tell Us We're in English.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I invite you to join our University Village Pedro Fontes in October, located in La Vega Parish, to a bazaar that we will be giving to see the progress we have had in this educational system. There are going to be present a number of social projects going to go in the community, and the other institutions will go to see the work that is being developed there. We invite them to form part of this educational process that is positive for our territory of Venezuela.
That's right. Thank you very much.
On the educational mission, Sucre, I have talked today with Siveria Castro, coordinator of this social mission created within the Bolivarian Revolution. This is From Caracas. I am Bray Gomez. Thank you very much.
A man who inspired a continent.